Good day and welcome to News Express. Now, Nigeria's political landscape is once again under intense judicial and political scrutiny as the Supreme Court reserved judgment in two of the most consequential opposition party disputes in recent years, involving the PDP and the ADC. At stake is not only the leadership structure of these parties, but also the broader question of whether Nigeria is drifting towards a weakened multi-party system or edging closer to a dominant one-party reality. The Apex Court's decision to reserve judgment in the protected dispute has effectively placed the future of opposition politics in Nigeria on hold. A 5-member panel of justice held final argument from all sides before announcing that its ruling will be delivered on a later date. In that moment, legal arguments ended, but political uncertainty deepened. What is now unfolding goes far beyond internal party disagreements. It has become a high-stake constitutional and democratical question, with implications that stretch into the 2027 general elections and beyond. Within the PDP, the crisis stems from a contested national convention held in Ibadan last year, which produced a leadership structure headed by the Tanimu Turaki-led executive. The convention itself has remained controversial from the outset, with rival factions accusing each other of procedural violations, exclusionary practices, and disregard for party guidelines as well as the Electoral Act. The dispute escalated when multiple aggrieved party members approached the Federal High Court, arguing that the convention was improperly conducted. One of the key suits was filed by Austin Nwachukwu and other party stakeholders who challenged the legitimacy of the leadership emerging from the convention. In a separate but related case, former Jigawa State Governor Sule Lamido also challenged his exclusion from the process, adding further weight to the legal contest. Initially, conflicting court orders deepened the confusion, while one federal high court restrained the PDP from proceeding with the convention. Another order from an Oyo State High Court appeared to grant permission for it to proceed. The party proceeded with the Ibadan Convention regardless, a decision that later became central to the legal battle. Subsequently, the Court of Appeal nullified the convention and recognized a rival faction aligned with loyalists of Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyemiso Wike. That ruling dramatically shifted the internal balance of power within the PDP and intensified the factional struggle that continues to define the party today. The Turaki-led faction, refusing to accept the Appellate Court's decision, escalated the matter to the Supreme Court. Their legal arguments presented by senior advocate Chris Uche urged the Apex Court to overturn the lower court rulings on the ground that internal party disputes fall outside judicial jurisdiction. This argument touches on a long-standing constitutional question in Nigerian democracy. To what extent should courts interfere in the internal affairs of political parties, and where should the boundary between legal oversight and party autonomy be drawn? A similar question now defines the crisis within the ADC. In the case of the ADC, the dispute centers on competing claims to national leadership, complicated by the involvement of the INEC. The Commission initially recognized a leadership structure associated with the former Senate President, David Mark, but later withdrew recognition following judicial pronouncements, creating a leadership vacuum within the party. This reversal triggered accusations from party stakeholders who allege that state institutions are being used to weaken opposition parties ahead of the 2027 elections. According to these claims, the removal of recognized leadership structures has left the ADC vulnerable and internally divided at a time when it should be consolidating strength to compete nationally. The leadership dispute also involves rival claims from Honorable Nafiu Balagombe, who is aligned with a faction challenging Mark's authority. His supporters argue that his emergence reflects legitimate internal party processes, while opponents insist that the structure backing him lacks democratic legitimacy. At the Supreme Court hearing, senior advocate Jibrin Okotipa argued that lower courts overstepped their jurisdiction by intervening in what he described as internal political matters. He referenced earlier Supreme Court pronouncements suggesting that courts should not interfere in party affairs except in strictly defined circumstances. On the opposite side, senior advocate Robert Emikpero urged the court to uphold earlier decisions, arguing that the cases were premature and lacked sufficient legal grounding. According to this view, judicial restraint is necessary to prevent the court from becoming arenas for endless internal political battles. After hearing all arguments, the Supreme Court panel led by Justice Mohammed Garba announced that judgment had been reserved, leaving both parties and the wider political system in a state of anticipation. But beyond the courtroom, the implications are already being debated in political cycles across the country. A growing concern among analysts is that prolonged internal crisis within major opposition parties could weaken Nigeria's multi-party democracy. With the ruling APC currently controlling a significant majority of state governments, the effectiveness of opposition parties in providing checks and balances is already under scrutiny. Some observers argue that if the PDP and ADC remained divided or come under the influence of factions perceived to be aligned with the ruling party, Nigeria could drift towards a de facto one-party dominant system. This concern is further amplified by perceptions that certain political actors within opposition parties maintain close relationships with figures in the current administration. Within the PDP, critics point to the influence of Wike as evidence of internal fragmentation. His political alignment with President Bola Tinubu's administration has fueled speculation that the opposition party may struggle to present a unified front in the 2027 elections. Whether these claims translate into electoral consequences remains uncertain, but they have undeniably shaped public perception. In the ADC, similar concerns are being raised about factional alignment and external influence. Some stakeholders allege that political actors with ties to the ruling establishment are positioning themselves within opposition structures, potentially weakening their independence and electoral competitiveness. Adding another layer of complicity and public comments and political signals from influential figures. Recent statements attributed to senior political actors suggesting support for certain factions have intensified suspicion about external involvement in internal party disputes. While such claims remain politically sensitive and often unverified, they contribute to the broader narrative of opposition instability. At the heart of all these developments lies a fundamental question about Nigeria's democratic trajectory. Is the country strengthening its multi-party system through judicial clarification of internal party disputes, or is it inadvertently weakening opposition capacity by allowing prolonged internal conflict to fester? The Supreme Court's upcoming judgments are therefore being viewed as more than legal determinations. They are seen as potential turning points in the structure of Nigeria's political competition. If the court upholds strict limits on judicial intervention in party affairs, it could reinforce internal autonomy but potentially leave unresolved disputes within parties. If it supports stronger judicial oversight, it could stabilize internal party processes but also deepen concerns about external influence in political organization. As the nation weighs political actors across the spectrum are closely monitoring developments. For party leaders, the judgments could determine control of party structures ahead of the next election cycle. For presidential hopefuls, they could define access to platforms capable of mounting credible national campaigns. For ordinary Nigerians, however, the implications are broader. At stake is not just which faction controls which party, but whether the political system itself remains competitive, balanced, and representative. In the coming weeks, when the Supreme Court finally delivers its judgments, it will not merely be settling disputes between rival factions. It will be shaping the contours of Nigeria's democratic future, determining whether opposition politics emerges stronger, weaker, or fundamentally transformed. That's all for now on News Express. If you have something to say, head over to the comment section and share your thoughts. We would love to hear from you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. I'm Chidera Esom. Thank you for watching. Do have a beautiful day. Bye for now.